What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and in today's episode of the fighting game tutorial series, we are going to be going over converting our super camera from blueprints to code. So in the last few episodes we were converting our camera edges and our actual camera to code, and now we're going to be converting the super camera to code, which will also finalize the camera to code logic. Because our regular camera does have a point where it will swap over to the super camera, so by converting the super camera to code, we will also be able to finish our camera. But otherwise, everything that you see in this episode is going to be exactly the same as you're used to. It's just going to be more efficient, cleaned up, and better for further modification in the future. In case you're not familiar with the super camera, we can give full super meter to our characters, so cheat, full super all, and then I can perform my special move like this, which changes to a different view of the character, is more of a cinematic shot. That is our super camera. And we do some other things with it as well, like this little camera sequence. That's what our super camera is for, and that's what we're going to be porting from blueprints to code today. So understand that we are going to initially set up our special camera class today. That's what I'm going to be calling it. Then we'll have one other special camera episode to finalize the logic from blueprint to code. That way we're fully using this code class as our new parent for our special camera. Now, if you want to get caught up in the entire fighting game tutorial series, so you can see how we've done things from launching and projectiles and round timers, I'll link you to the top right corner right here, which is the fighting game tutorial series playlist. So it contains all the episodes that we have so far and will have in the future. Alternatively, if you don't care about that and you just care about the super camera, I recommend you watch this episode right here, which is where we initially implemented the super camera in the series, that blueprint class that we're going to be converting to code today. And so if you already have the super camera, the class that we're creating, it will be easier to do so. I recommend that you watch that episode. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. So this is a code and blueprint tutorial series, but we're going to be doing a large mix today because we're going to be taking the logic from the blueprint and putting it in the code. We're also going to be cleaning up the blueprint quite a bit in this process. So first things first, we need to go to our super camera blueprint. So blueprints, functional BPs, cameras, super camera. Now when I come in here, there's a few things right off the bat that I noticed that I did early on that I want to change already. So let's get this camera ready to convert to code. So first things first is looking at our variable list. So the super camera doesn't really care about our left max or right max boundaries. These were likely copies because I duplicated our camera BP class when I initially made this class, and I never cleaned up my variables. That's on me. But if I see my left max and right max variables, right click on them and find references, you'll notice that nothing comes up because I'm not using them for anything. If I look at the details panel, you'll see that they're set to 0. These have no reason to exist, and I can remove the left max and right max variables from the super camera. I will need player 1 and player 2 ref, as we need to know what character we want to place the super camera on. Technically, you don't even need this. You could do it manually when you know what character is performing a super. And also, just note here that super camera actually is more of our cinematic camera. We're going to rename it in this episode. We call it super camera because it was the camera that was managing our cinematic sequences for super moves, but we also use it for things like our victory animations. And if we want to implement defeat animations, I would use the same thing for that as well. So this is more of just like our cinematic camera. And the reason we have this class to begin with is just so we can break up some of the logic that doesn't need to be in our regular camera. But regardless, I'll keep player 1 ref and player 2 ref for now. Left camera edge and right camera edge. The super camera also doesn't care about these. These are brought over from the default camera BP, and I never clean them up either. So let's go ahead and remove these variables too. You can make sure that they have no references, and they don't. And they have no defaults or anything. We can just delete these. Already, our super camera is looking a lot cleaner. Now there's some more things that we can actually do to clean it up even further. So, super camera, event begin play. The first thing that we do is have a delay. That should not be the case. We don't want to delay and begin play to set up logic. I know sometimes we did that as band-aids early on in the series so that we could get around timing issues, but we shouldn't have any of these timing issues anymore. We've resolved our match flow and we have processes in place to make sure things occur at the right time. So I'm going to remove this delay and just bring everything over. So by removing this delay, we may not be able to set our active team 1 and active team 2 characters to this player 1 and player 2 reference. The problem with using the super camera this way anyway is the same problem we ran into that started this whole transfer from Blueprint camera to code. In the default camera, we had player 1 and player 2 reference, but that's not good enough for team modes where we could have multiple characters. Right now it will work in begin play, but it won't work later on. So everything you see in begin play here, I'm taking out. I don't need to use this here, because if I only get the active characters at the current time, it won't be good enough. So instead I'll need to get the active character when we're going to call one of the events or functions on it. So begin play and everything in it is gone. So now we only have 2 events in this super camera class. Because of this, I actually am going to remove these player 1 and player 2 reference variables as well, but we're not going to do that yet because I want to make sure that we can transfer this to code and you can see everything working, just like with the regular camera. The next thing to do for this is rename this class, so I'm going to right click and rename super camera from super camera. Let's call it special camera BP, and if we want to follow the naming convention, actually we can call it base special camera BP. So basically this is going to be the camera that handles any special cases that we don't want to handle in our regular camera. If you'd prefer, you can handle those things in your regular camera class and it'll work perfectly fine. At this point we need to make a code class for this, so we can go to our C++ classes, fighter template, and I'm going to add a new C++ class in here. Go to all classes. We need to know what parent class the super camera or our base special camera BP class now is using. So if we go to class settings in here, it will show you that the parent class is just a regular camera actor. So now when we're choosing our parent class, we just want to use camera actor. Select that one, go next, and we can call this base special camera and create the class. It might take a second or two, but once you get it created, you'll get files that look like this, a header and a CPP for your base special camera. You can see them here in the Solution Explorer. And so now let's set up the default stuff for the class. The first thing is going to be our constructor. So we can put public here, a base special camera, and go to the CPP, a base special camera, a base special camera. Next thing we need to do is set up our 2 functions based on the 2 events that we had in the super camera BP, or again, we're calling it the special camera now. So I'm going to load the editor back up and see what those functions are. So now that we have our C++ class and we're back in the editor, we should go back to our special camera, base special camera BP, and we should go to class settings and switch our camera actor as the parent to our special camera, base special camera. Now when you change this, nothing should really be affected because special camera is a child of the camera actor. We have another child in between the camera actor and the base special camera BP now, but they're both in that same chain, and so things like the components are going to be exactly the same as they were, because we haven't added any components in the base special camera class that we created. So if you changed anything in here, you're going to want to make sure it's still the same, but we did not change anything in here in the series. And even if you did, again, we haven't lost any components or anything, so they'll still be here, but just make sure everything you have is still here if you did change things. So the next thing to do is convert our 2 events, swap to super camera view and swap to victory camera view. So if we go back into the code here, specifically our new camera class, we can go ahead and at least create these functions. Void, switch to super camera view, and we're going to make one for void switch to victory camera view as well. We can go back to the CPP file and get them ready here. So void a base special camera, switch to super camera view, and void a base special camera, switch to victory camera view. And actually thinking about this, I want to rename these. I don't want to have camera view in the function names here. I'm just going to say switch to super view and switch to victory view. I think that makes more sense because it's one camera. We want to change these function names everywhere, so we'll change them in the CPP files as well. So next episode, we're going to be converting these events to functions. We'll remove everything from the graph, and we'll make sure our special camera works from the code. And that means we can also finish the last few things that we couldn't in our base camera, because we needed a super camera class that we could use to call these functions. I hope you enjoyed this episode on super camera, special cameras, converting blueprints to code. If you did, please subscribe. It does more for myself and the channel than anything else you can do, and I really appreciate it. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube membership, Patreon, and Discord subscribers. Thank you guys for all the love and support. I'm so very grateful. If you ran into any problems while following this tutorial or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There is a link in the description, and that support is completely free. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.